This is a 1978 F250 four-wheel drive, and these are commonly known as Lowboys. And this one's been converted to a 2005 and newer Super Duty front axle. This kit has its own unique track bar bracket, and this is quite the track bar bracket. It grabs onto the engine cross member right here, and the bolts go all the way through the cross member to the front. And this kit doesn't require any welding for the steering box, or any cutting for that matter. The steering box has these plates that locate off of original steering box holes. That holds the plate there, and the plate acts as a drilling template for these two holes you need to drill for the 14mm Super Duty steering boxes. And then the upper one is actually up above the frame. And there's a series of two spacers in here for the upper steering box bolt. And the inside plate is nearly identical. The only difference is the inside diameter of this hole is different than this plate's hole. And the track bar bracket overlaps that steering box plate. And so it's formed, you can see it's formed in a little bit of a U shape. So it grabs there and also grabs here. And that's because this frame is fully boxed in right here, and there's no good areas to do through bolts right here in the middle. So we form this plate and we have them grab those different sides. The spring buckets locate almost entirely on original holes. Now, the original holes depend on which engine you had from the factory, best I can figure, because some of these holes back here came drilled from the factory, some didn't. But either way, all of these holes, funny enough, are drilled on the outside. And not just drilled, there's big old holes from the factory on the outside. And so you use a drilling template, and you hold it over here. It'll overlap with maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 into these holes, and then you drill the other ones that you don't have from the factory. Same thing on the other side. You can use that plate on the outside of the frame. It's going to be easiest to use that drilling template on the inside of the frame, but you actually can use it on the outside of the frame. Use a extra long drill bit, and even like a square to hold it nice and square in there works well. If you don't use a square, you don't hold that drill bit square, you're going to wind up with your holes where they shouldn't be. But again, even though you're seeing about 10 holes here, you're only going to be drilling maybe 4 of those, and you're only going to be drilling them on the inside, not the outside, so it's not as bad as it looks. Our 4-link bracket, and same with our radius arm bracket, they both mount at the same point with the same holes, is going to locate on an original hole that's right here. And so all these other holes are going to be drilled. This hole, I got the bracket on here, you can't see it from the factory. There's a hole that's slotted up and down, and then your cab mount would be right here. This one's off, but your cab mount's here. And then your rear shackle pivot point is right here. And so just a little ways behind that right here is going to be that locator hole that we use on these brackets. So you drill, and those are 1/2-inch holes. And then on the inside, it's hard to see, but inside here, there's a little transfer case support bracket. And then these are actually factory drilled holes. And so you're going to reuse those holes. You don't drill these, you do drill this. Get another look at that. Yeah, so inside there, oh, if it can focus, that is a factory drilled hole, so you don't need to get your drill bit out for that. Those are a little tricky to reach, but we angle our brackets. Here we go. We have this little form on the brackets so that it's easier to fit a wrench in here and fit those nuts in there. And then you put these transmission transfer case support brackets in there, and that replaces an original style bracket that was underneath the frame. And of course, it can't be underneath the frame with this new radius arm bracket or 4-link bracket. The Lowboys in particular are a really good frame to swap because of the engine cross member. The 2-wheel drives have a really big engine cross member that gets in the way of that differential when it moves upward. This one, you have all the room in the world. These are originally used Super Duty springs. They're not lift springs, but of course there's no weight on this, so it's sitting higher than normal. We can see our track bar and our steering. And if you were to lift this a lot, what you do is over here you'd have a high steer knuckle, and then your track bar, instead of using the original ball joint, you fabricate a bracket that holds it up higher. But anyways, with this, you can use up to about a 6-inch lift spring before you run into issues with your tie rod ends and track bar. An 8-inch lift spring definitely requires high steer and a high track bar. Going to the rear, this truck has got a 2017 and newer Skyjacker Super Duty leaf springs, and this one is a FR173S. These brackets locate on original holes. So right here we have, this would have been our original leaf spring bracket, would have mounted here, 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 and here. And so what used to be the forwardmost leaf spring bracket rivet hole becomes the rearmost hole there. And so that way you don't have to do much measuring when you locate these. And just take a look how big those leaf springs are. Over here on the rear, this one actually shares 3 of the original 4 holes for the rear bracket. So this one's original, and this one's original. But then this one you have to drill. That's a new one. Here are the 2 track bar bracket drilling templates. So the way you go about doing the track bar bracket on the Lowboy frame is first you're going to just install it. Before you do any drilling, you install it over top of this plate and your driver's side spring bucket. You bolt it up, you cinch these bolts all the way down, and then the bracket is going to act as a template to show you where to drill these holes. And I'm looking at the rear of the engine cross member looking forward right now. So you drill these 2 holes, and then you go underneath here and use a long drill bit. It's going to be 1/2 inch diameter, and you're going to drill this hole right here. This is the bottom of the track bar bracket, and I'm on the forward side. There's another hole. You can hardly see it. I don't think you can see it. It's going to be right back in here, just directly behind this hole. But anyways, don't worry about drilling that one. Just drill this one to begin with. Then after you do that, you unbolt this track bar bracket. You totally remove it. And we've got 2 drilling templates. So the first one is this one here, and you can see how it's formed to contour to the curve of the engine cross member. And so this engine cross member is not quite square, and so this will go up here just like this. And what this lets you do is you locate on these 2 holes you just drilled. And so this goes on the forward side. You locate on those holes you just drilled, and then it shows you where to drill on the front end. If you don't use this, you might wind up with bolts that are, up, down, cockeyed somehow, and they just don't sit nice and square in there. And it's easier to do than you think. It's hard to drill these square without a template. So you drill those, you remove this, discard that. And then over here, this piece is to drill, there's those vertical holes here. And so you'd hold this up here. You'd of course, put it flush. And yeah, I even will tack this, weld this to the frame so it can't move on you. Otherwise, use some C-clamps or something just so it doesn't wobble around on you when you're drilling. And so you locate it on that lower forward bolt hole right there that you just drilled, and then you drill your other 3 holes, and you're gonna wind up with holes up here. And so you're gonna wind up drilling this hole and then this hole. The spring buckets get their own drilling templates. And here's one of them. It's hard to see, but these are laser engraved. It says driver side. It's pretty faint laser engraving, but it's there. And so you take this over here, and you'd hold this up here so it matches up with several of your original bolt holes. And what you do is you actually bolt this up to your frame. And I know I've already got these bolts in here, but if I were drilling this, I'd remove all of these. I'd put this flush on the frame. I would see that it lines up with several of these bolt holes, and I drill the ones that it doesn't already have. And again, you can put this on the outside of the frame. You shouldn't need to drill anything on the outside of the frame. So if you're drilling on the outside of the frame, that tells me something's wrong. But you can put it on the outside of the frame and use that to locate your holes on the inside of the frame with really careful square drilling. For the radius arm bracket or 4-link bracket, we have a drilling template for that. And this is a heavy 3/6. And so we have this slot here on the forward side of the bracket. So it would sit like this. And this is a super cap bracket. See how how it's got that contour to the bottom of it. So we're looking at a single cab frame, but a super cab drilling template. And so this forward hole is what would locate right there. And so you have an original hole on your factory, on your frame from the factory, that would be right about here, just back from your shackle point, and then just back from your cab mount. These two holes here should line up with your transmission transfer case support bracket. Your original hole's drilled for that. And then so you drill out this hole, this hole, this hole, and this hole.
Let's take a look at a completed truck. This is a 1978 F250 4-wheel drive, same as we just looked at. Here it is with used Super Duty front coils and 3-inch lift skyjacker rear springs and 33-inch tires. So this is at its lowest stance with this conversion, and it comes out looking great with those 33-inch tires. And the smaller the tire, the more freeway friendly it is. And next, let's take a look at it with a 4-inch lift setup and a high lift 4-link. And so we can see all 4 of those 4-link pivot points are going to be underneath the frame. And so no form tubes on this, just straight tubes. So here that is on a complete truck with 37-inch tires, that same truck we just saw a moment ago. And it comes out looking really good with 37-inch tires. So 2-inch lift does great with 35-inch tires, 4-inch lift with 37 tires, and an 8.5-inch lift for some 40-inch tires. And these are skyjacker lift springs and Bilstein shocks. Be sure to check out the website for more pictures and information.